Today we are taking the topic that is called communication process, and it is a very important topic for the paper 1 for UGC net, and it is also important for the UGC net management and commerce students. So before starting the communication process, we should know all about what is all about the communication, and what is the requirement of the good communication, and what are the implications of the communications. So we are starting with what is all about the communication. Communication is the process of exchanging the ideas, exchanging the opinions, exchanging the knowledges from one person to the other person. That is all about the communication. And the communication words, which is derived from Latin word, that means share and participate. I hope you will able to understand what is all about the communication. Means again, I'm just telling you, communication is all about the exchanging the knowledge, exchanging the ideas, exchanging the opinions, exchanging the emotions as well as. That is called communication. Now we are starting with the communication process. These are the communication process start with the sender and ended in a decoding a message. But the communication doesn't ended with the decoding of the message, and it is also include the feedback to the sender. Now first is the sender, second is the encoding of the messages, third channel of communication, and fourth receiver, fifth decoding a message, and now he has to give the feedback to the sender. Now firstly I'll describe all these points in a one by one. Firstly we'll start with the sender. Who is the sender? Who sent the message? Means suppose that A and B are communicating, and then A will be the sender who just want to communicate their knowledge, just want to communicate their emotions, just want to communicate their opinions to the other person. The person is called sender. Second is the encoding of the message. Encoding of message again is one of the important in a communication process, because in an encoding of the message means what actually we are drafting that particular words in terms of the written communication or in terms of the oral communication, what actually we are speaking. We have to be care about the receiver point of view. Suppose that we can take the examples of you just belongs to the India, and what you are just going to communicate with the person who is sitting across the globe. They're not able to understand what actually you are speaking in Hindi. If you are started communicating in a Hindi and the person who is sitting at a US or some other country, they are not able to understand Hindi. So you have to be encode the masses according to the receiver, and they should not be very complex. What you should not be used while encoding of the masses. Okay, and I'll tell you particular thing in a later on stage when I'll tell you in a what are the barriers of the communication. There can be n number of the barriers of the communication. So whatever we want to be communicate with the other person, so we have to be careful about the encoding of the masses. Okay. And third is the channel of communication. Channel of communication means what mediums of communication. Suppose that there are two persons are sitting at one room, so there can be the channel of communication that is called oral communications. And if the person is sitting at in some different cities or a different state, so it will be depending on the what modes of the communication you are using. Sometimes it can be the email, sometimes it can be the letter. Sometimes it can be overall telephonic or video conferencing. We are having in a present scenario, we are having the n number of the channel of communication. Again, channel of communication plays a very crucial role in the communication process. Fourth is a receiver. Receiver is the person who receives the message. It's a very confusing. In many books has written decode before the receiver, but in actually receiver will be the first person before decoding the message. Receiver is the person who is receiving the message. Whatever sender are sending the message after decoding that particular message, so then receiver has to be received that particular message. Once receiver will receive the message, then he has to be decode the message. Means suppose the person is sitting at India and they are communicating with the person who is sitting in China or some different countries. If he is speaking in English and the person who is sitting at some different countries, or the person you are communicating, he also know about the English. He received the message and he has to be decode particular message. Okay, if the person who is receiving the message is not able to decode the message, then he will not able to give the feedback to the sender. But feedback is again one of the important topic and one of the important aspect of the communication process. Okay? Then what is the decoding of the message? Suppose that sender send the message that I'll give you the call by tomorrow morning. That is a message. I'll give you the call by tomorrow morning. In a channel of communication, it might text message or WhatsApp or some any social media platform they have used. What receiver receive the message and receiver decode particular message in terms of the English if he has sent the message in the English, and he has respond okay, and he has given the feedback to the sender. If he is able to give in the feedback of particular message to the sender, that is called decoding of the message. Until persons who are receiving the message are not able to decode the message, he will not be able to give the feedback to the sender. That is all about the communication process. Now, next, what are the purposes of the communications? And what are the purpose or what are the objective of communication? First objective is a purpose or objective of communication. First is the exchange of information. Secondly, issuing the order. Third is the education. Fourth, the advice and counseling. Giving some suggestions. Motivation. Leadership. That is leadership. Now, firstly, and there are a number of the purposes or objectives of the communication. Firstly, we'll start with the exchange of the information. Suppose that there are two persons are communicating with themselves, and one person is want to communicate or just want to share some information with the other person. Or suppose that in a day by tomorrow, after the 5 days or the 10 days, there will be a meeting of the particular persons. Then the person who is sending the message or just want to communicate with all other colleagues by the Monday at 11 o'clock there will be a formal meetings, and which will be chaired by the head office, which will be chaired by some concerned managers. That is called exchange of the information. Whatever the information you just want to share with the other persons. Secondly, the issuing the orders. Yes, sometimes what we do, we issue the order as well as if we know there is two types of the communication. One is a formal communication, the other is the informal communication. In a formal communication, there is again further bit divided in two parts. First is the upward communication, second is the downward communication. In a downward communications, top level management give the orders to their subordinates. So if suppose that sales manager giving some orders to their subordinate by the month of the January or by the month of the February, you have to be sell that particular number of the mobile, the particular number of the product and services. That is called issuing the order. Third is the education. Yes, in education it's a very important, the very good communication. Whatever the languages you are using, communication is not all about the English. Communication is all about the whatever the languages you are using and whatever the native languages you are using to communicate from one person to the other persons. Fourth is advice and counseling. Yes, sometimes we just want to give the advice or we just want to be counsel some persons. Then even though we are requiring the good communications. Next, suggestions. It's a same. And next point, that is called motivation. Motivation is again it's one of the important part. And whenever we just want to motivate the other, we have to communicate the other persons. If you are not able to communicate in a very good manner, the person you just want to motivate, he or she will not be able to motivate from your messages. So communication plays a crucial role in a motivation. Next is a leadership. Yes, as we know, in a present scenario, we can see the many examples. Just because of the very good communicating and just because of very good communications, leaders are communicating with their followers. Sometimes whatever the achievement you have done so far in the past 5 years or past 10 years, and if you are not able to communicate with your followers, then what will happen? They will not be able to understand your policies or understand your whatever the work you have done so far. So again, communication plays a very crucial role for the leadership as well as. Now next topic is types of communication. Types of communication. Formally there are two types of communication: formal communication and the informal communication. Formal communication, it's an upward communication or downward communication. And informal communication, it's a lateral, diagonal and the grapevine. So formal communication means whatever the formally we are communicating from one person to the other person in terms of the offices, in terms of the colleagues, or in terms of some formal organizations. Whenever we just want to communicate from one person to the other person, that is called formal communication. Formal communication further divided into two parts, that is called upward communication and the downward communication. Upward communication means from down to up, and the downward communication from top level to the lower level. In a simple words, if you're talking about the downward communication, the upward communication, if the message is coming from the lower level employees to the top level employees, that is called upward communication. And when the messages are coming from the top level employees to the lower level employees, that is called downwards. But in a communication syllabus, in a communications question, they have always asked where we use the upward communication and where we use the downward communication. When we just want to give some request, or when you just want to give some suggestions to your top level executive, that is where we use the upward communication. In the downward communications, as we know, top level executive will not do any request to their lower level executives. So whatever the advices, whatever the suggestions, and whatever the orders are coming, it is called downward communication. And whatever the request we are doing to our top level executive, that is called upward communication. Second is the informal communication. Informal communication, whatever the communications we are doing in our canteens and whatever the communications we are doing outside of that particular organization, that is called informal communication. In an informal communication, first is the lateral, second is the diagonal, third is the grapevine. Lateral communication is all about communication at a same level, means managers are talking with the managers, top level executives are talking with the top level executives, and mid levels are talking with the mid level, and lower levels people are talking with the lower levels. Means all those persons who are working at the same levels or working at the same designations, they are talking with the different organizations, persons who are working at the same level. Means marketing managers are talking with the HR managers, or marketing supervisor is talking with the HR supervisors. In terms of the diagonal communication is all about the cross. Means managers are talking with the supervisors and supervisor talking with the managers. But means in the inter-organizations or the intra-organizations, they are crossing the borders and they are not creating any protocol. Means person who is sitting at a manager level, they can talk with the lower level employees as well as. That is called diagonal. And the grapevine is totally informal communication. That is called backbiting. Now backbiting is all about you just want to give some negative information about the organizations, or you just want to mislead the employees while giving some wrong informations, or you are unnecessarily criticizing the other person. That is all about the backbiting. Again, I am just describing all this: formal communication, the informal, informal, upward and the downward. Upward is from lower level to the top level, and the downward is all about the top level to the lower levels. And in an informal communication, lateral, diagonal, and the grapevine. Lateral is in a same designations people are talking, and in a diagonal, anybody can talk from one person to the other person in irrespective of designations. Means top level employees can talk with the lower level employees, and the grapevine is all about the backbiting. Whatever we are talking and whatever the information we want to be give to our subordinate or some other person, we are not giving the good information, and we are just want to create the negative awareness or just want to mislead the people. Thank you.